The spirit itself is not damaged or impure, it's just not connected. Our spirit really has never been disconnected from God, but our soul has been. And then when we realize that God is in us and we open that first love gate in our spirit, we allow God to flow into us to engage spirit, soul, body, then we begin to engage relationally with God. And then that really begins to give us our identity. Most people get their identity from what they're doing in the world, rather than, or from their past experiences, rather than who God says they are. Now, your spirit knows who you are, because your origin was always in God, in the spirit, and your spirit existed before your body and soul. So it pre-existed before it came into the body. But when it did, it came into a state of disconnection. And God is looking to reveal himself in a way that reconnects us, makes us whole, brings us back into union with him, union with spirit, soul, and body. And then everything begins to flow. Rivers of living water, abundant life flows from the inside out. And we can then live within what's an inner experience of our life shapes our outer experience, rather than our outer experience shaping our inner experience. And I think that is what God wants us to happen. So there are things we can do in building our spirit, if you like, or increasing our spiritual capacity, is actually focusing on our spiritual senses rather than primarily on our physical and soul senses. And that is a meditative exercise. So we meditate on the spirit and the abilities of the spirit and the senses of the spirit, and then those senses grow and they develop, and then we are intuitively operating spiritually rather than cognitively most of the time. Some people say, oh, the spirit was damaged. I don't believe that the spirit has ever been damaged or has ever had anything occupying it other than God. But that doesn't mean that we function through the spirit, because we're not trained and learn to function. So in Hebrews, it talks about through practice, we train our senses to discern. Now, that can be training our actual senses, both our physical senses and our soul senses, to be in tune with the spirit senses, and therefore to be subject to them, in that they carry the highest priority of understanding before our cognitive understanding. And then our cognitive experiences can be shaped from the filters of our spirit. So it's like, if we're engaged in the spirit can filter things that are coming from the outside in and give us insight into them before the soul interprets them. And that's really what we're looking to do, is discern in the spirit and not just be dependent on memory or logic or reason or understanding in that way. But it takes time to develop that, because we've lived most of our lives with the soul being predominantly that which determines what we do in life, and how we feel and how we act and how we think. But then we need to develop a different framework of thinking and acting out of our spiritual senses rather than our physical and soul senses, predominantly first. But it takes a bit of time to develop all that. If you enjoy these videos, would you please take a moment to like, comment, and subscribe? It really does help. Thank you very much.